This game could be potentially absolutely amazing. It's made by Obsidian, the guys who made Fallout New Vegas. You know, the best Bethesda game that Bethesda didn't make themselves. Yeah, and now they're essentially trying to make Skyrim, but good. It's gonna be amazing.
Avowed will be set in the area of Aora known as the Living Lands, which is the same universe as the CRPG Pillars of Eternity. From what's been released trailer-wise, we know that the main character will be able to wield magic and is sent to the Living Lands as an envoy of Adir by the Emperor to find out about a plague that is impacting the land. Being able to command magic, the locals don't quite trust you upon first meeting, and here you'll need to show you're not the bad guy and get them to come over to
So you're Dragonborn, but with magic, essentially.
your side via persuasion or force. Using both weapons and magic in combat means a whole range of possibilities. You won't be playing as a watcher in this iteration, though, but you will still have some sort of soul connection, which we don't know a lot about currently. The setting of the Living Lands means a diverse world of flora and fauna. The environment is full of poisonous weeds and dense forests, but also dry mountainous regions. But it's not just the natural environment adventurers should keep an eye out for. From the footage shown, animals are also affected by the unique soul plague. This could mean they also have further abilities not normally found in the wild, opening up a host of problems that only players can solve.
Yeah, this looks already pretty good, doesn't it, honestly? Yeah, it gives off that uniquely Skyrim vibe, but not bad, okay? This is already probably going to be just by default better than Elder Scrolls Online.
Whether that is by blade, by casting spells, persuasion, or coercion, or a combination of these things. Avowed's world is
That's more roleplay than Starfield ever could dream of having, by the way, already. Okay, this looks good.
expected to be roughly the same size as Knights of the Old Republic 2 or the Outer Worlds if you want a more recent comparison. Avowed won't be open world, but will have interconnected open zones, and from what was shown at the Xbox Extended Game Showcase back in June, there will be plenty to explore which you can...
Now, the fact that it's not an interconnected open zone truly is a little bit disappointing. I understand that. But at the same time, if the zone is large enough, a loading screen like every 1 hour is not the end of the world, honestly, in my opinion. Hey, it beats a loading screen every 30 seconds, if you know what I'm saying.
You can do at your own pace. Past trailers have also shown teases of deities from the Pillars of Eternity universe. A scene shows a castle displaying hanging banners on its walls with a symbol, which can also be seen on the player's sword. The symbol looks very similar to that of one of the deities known as Wodica. Another name she goes by is the Exiled Queen, who holds a particular importance in the Empire of Adir. This might
You got Daedra, pretty much.
give us some clues as to exactly when in time and where in Aora we will be focusing the Avowed's narrative. Being so prevalent in the trailer could mean we're at a time before Wodica is cast out. This could very well be a prequel to the Pillars of Eternity games, being set in the same world. It's still...
And if you do not know what's Pillars of Eternity, by the way, effectively it's... I don't want to say the predecessor of Baldur's Gate 3, but technically it's on the scale of Baldur's Gate 3, but it didn't have voice acting, it didn't have animations, it was more text-based than anything else. But essentially, if you really liked Baldur's Gate 3, yeah, Pillars of Eternity are probably your jam also, honestly. Unless you can't be bothered to read text, because there's nothing animated there, okay? So, the story, most likely for this game, is gonna be pretty good at the bare minimum.
Unclear if this is a prequel or sequel to the series of games, though, but it could also be its own story, hence not gaining the Pillars of Eternity in its title. Combat is in real time and looks very reminiscent of games such as the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim or the more recent Tainted Grail The Fall of Avalon, where you can cast magic with one hand and use a weapon in the other. In June, Obsidian released a gameplay trailer featuring swordsmen ready to ambush a lone figure stepping off a ship. It featured some double pistol fights, swords, bows, and axes.
Good.
Dual-wielding weapons aren't the only things in the player's arsenal. Avowed also gives players the ability to wield magic in first person.
Yeah, the magic in first person is my biggest concern currently about this game because, well, do I need to say more? I mean, casting a cool magic spell like this is really, really good when you're looking from above. Casting like this when it's first person, yeah, it doesn't look that great now, does it? Now, admittedly, this is not a red flag, this is not nothing, but I don't know about this one honestly because it looks a little bit awkward, just a little bit awkward.
There seem to be different types of magic to cast from what we've seen in the trailer. We may even see returning spells and abilities from Pillars of Eternity realized in first person. For instance, you can see a sword slash that looks like it could be the Paladin's Flames of Devotion with its whitish-yellow flames engulfing the blade. Or the Wizard's Fireball that has a longer cast time, as well as Pull of Aora, with a dark sphere that pulls enemies into its vortex. There also looks to be a melee attack that
This looks so good, by the way.
looks an awful lot like the Cypher's Soul Annihilation, as well as a charging move with a raised shield that reminds me of the fighter's ability Charge. Also teased on the game's Steam page is the ability to set...
Well, yeah, they considering this is based on Pillars of Eternity, yeah, most likely they're gonna make some recognizable abilities that you can use from that game as inspiration. It's kind of obvious, right? It's the same dimension, by the way. It's the same world.
traps by using your grimoire, which seems to have a range of spells. But there are other less tactical ways to get rid of enemies, such as kicking them off a cliff, which reminds me of shoving enemies off high places in Baldur's Gate 3. Shared in a video celebrating 20 years of Obsidian, the Pillars of Eternity 2 and Outer Worlds developer dove into what the game used to be. The RPG was once slated to be a co-op multiplayer game, but has since changed scope.
Yeah, look at that. These bad boys. Kiss, boy. Man, and they had to actually use the coolest NCR Ranger armor against Cazadors. God, I hate these bugs. Everyone hates these bugs. If you see a Cazador, you go the other way around. Unless you're using the, literal best sniper rifle with explosive rounds and you have maxed out your stealth like I do. Then Cazadors are one hit. But keep in mind, you actually can't hit them in the face, you can't hit them in the torso, you hit the ground under them. That's how you one-shot them. El professionalo, Cazador exterminado, at your service.
Changed scope. Studio
literally did Cazador Valley without any problems. Multiple times, in fact.
head Fergus Urquhart explained in the video when looking back on 20 years of Obsidian that there were choices they felt good about and some felt not so good. Previously, they pushed Avowed as multiplayer in order to sell it better to publishers. However, they felt ultimately it wasn't the right direction for the game. The development of quests, narratives, and other elements were significantly shaped by the multiplayer component. Understandably, a multiplayer game has a different set of content compared to a solo experience. The game's director, Carrie Patel...
Yeah, this is literally it, by the way. So yeah, Pillars of Eternity, not for everyone.
Patel described the 8-month transition period to a new direction as very hectic. Before Obsidian was acquired by Microsoft, they were independent. This influenced how the game was viewed and pitched. Urquhart explained asking for 50, 60, 70, 80 million from publishers meant they needed something to hook them in, and multiplayer made it interesting. This is also probably why we really hadn't gotten much of an update on Avowed until this year, when it appeared at the Xbox Game Showcase in June with a new trailer. Single-player games don't necessarily mean playing alone, though. The appeal of games like Dragon's Dogma 2 are putting players in situations where they can recruit their own party members who can act on their own or as directed. Or the recent majorly successful Baldur's Gate.
I hope they don't have Khajiits in the game. If they have Khajiits, I will be severely disappointed. Footies.
Which is often amplified by the presence of a group of companions. Your main character may be designed for a specific build, but you can leverage the abilities of your party members to enhance combat strategies. Having a companion or two could help provide more flexible gameplay. We're excited to find out whether the party members will be commanded in combat or where they will rely on their own AI-driven combat, similar to games such as Dragon's Dogma's Pawn system, which I could see also working here. In an interview with PC Gamer, director Carrie Patel expressed that Avowed is very much a companion-focused game being integral to the story. They went on to say they are tied to the story, tied to...
That's good. Let's be real. A good companion is so valuable in a game like this. A good companion that sometimes tells you something, questions you, blah, 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 does something... It's not just because it's an extra, force multiplier, essentially, for free. But because they can say something. The world feels, just more alive with a companion. Imagine rummaging through a house or whatever in Fallout New Vegas and not having a companion. It feels worse. You feel alone. you probably don't want to feel alone, honestly, when playing a game like this. So, that's a good thing in my opinion. That's honestly a pretty good thing.
To your party, meaning your adventure will revolve around your companions. Being such a big part of your gameplay means that there have to be skills or upgrade systems as you get into more challenging fights. Companions will join you on your adventure with up to 2 at a time. One companion revealed already is the coastal Almawa called Kai, a battle-hardened ex-soldier and mercenary. From one trailer, we see Kai running into what looks to be a battle alongside others in the group. But there could be more races for companions such as human, dwarves, elves, godlike, and Orlan. Each race has its
probably
own attributes and subclass bonuses.
Obviously, all the companions are not gonna be just, teal-ish fish people, okay?
For example, the coastal Alma has bonuses such as towering physique. It will be interesting to see how this will be adapted in combat in Avowed from Pillars of Eternity. As Avowed isn't a turn-based game, this leaves
probably just, a passive stat boost or increased melee damage or something like that, which is not gonna translate hugely. And honestly, if you're a top-down turn-based strategy game, that's one thing, right? But if you are a real-time action type of game, it's cool if you have these bonuses, but I would not personally expect much. Or blatantly almost anything at all, because that's no longer that necessary. It's a nice nudge to have a bonus like that because, of the previous games and the lore and context. But if it's not there, oh no, the horrors. Not really caring that much.
There's a lot open in how Obsidian plans to tackle companions and combat. Its first-person view may also shape how you interact with companions while in a fight, as not having an isometric view like in CRPGs means a different tact when it comes to skills. Adapting this to a first-person action RPG should be somewhat easy considering that the original Pillars of Eternity and Pillars of 2 games had real-time combat, which means that if there are casting times and attack times for abilities and skills, those can be implemented directly into first person and should work without too much change. I think it'll be extremely interesting to see how they implement some of these abilities and whether you can recognize them and whether they feel like the Pillars of Eternity abilities or not.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of people. They're going to be a minority. Let's be completely real about that. They're going to be a minority of the player base who play this game, but they're going to be pretty loud. And those are going to be the Pillars of Eternity fans that, complain that it's not Pillars of Eternity, the next iteration. That's kind of it. But again, don't worry about this too much. I just want them to fix this because this is not gonna work well in first person. Don't get me wrong, it's not the worst, but it probably needs to be adapted a little bit, more to first person. For example, make the animation faster, because no one likes slow hitting attacks unless they literally blow up the whole enemy camp. That would be cool, but I don't know if that's gonna be even a thing. Probably not, right? Probably not. So, they need to work on a couple of things, but this currently looks kind of good.
In an interview with PC Gamer back in June, the developers shared your role will be set, playing as an Imperial Envoy. You do, however, have control over personality, appearance, and philosophy. Race will only be human or elf, though, so you won't get to choose from all the races you could in Pillars of Eternity.
Oh no, I'm gonna have to make a hot elf woman. Oh no, the horrors.
However, you won't be locked into a particular class with having several ability trees. This sounds like we'll have quite the flexibility to customize our character to play how we like, suiting multiple playstyles.
Good.
As we also have weapon choices such as double pistols and swords, it'll be interesting to see how flexible and how quickly you can switch up your weaponry. If we look at the classes available in the Pillars of Eternity series, we can make some predictions of what kind of ability trees could appear in Avowed. Having seen abilities in the gameplay already from many...
It's your typical, it's your literal... It's your literal most typical type of, gameplay stuff, okay? There's your wizards, necromancers, bow people, stealthy, sneaky boys. It's not unique, okay? This part is not unique. But the game doesn't need to be unique with their classes and whatnots. You don't need to have a rat priest or sand wizard or something like that for a game to feel unique. Now, if you have that, that's good. But I'm not going to complain, and I don't think anyone's going to complain if just the base game is Very simplistic. Just you know, fire wizard, frost wizard, stealthy stabby boy, guy with a big shield, guy with a big axe, big sword, you know, bow, crossbow, pistols, whatever. As long as it's done good, okay? You don't need to insert 5 billion ways of variety if you just make a good game, okay? Inserting 5 billion ways of different variety does not make for a good game in general. So, you know, that's kind of a thing. Anyway, this was Quizzer Sensen. Thanks for watching, and this was Extra Life. You know those guys that did the thing on Twitch? Yeah, these guys. Anyway, have a nice day. Bye bye.